Radio on Berlin.
You're listening to Radio on Berlin, the historic series with Jason Oney and Rinus Van Alebeek here in Berlin. Radio on Berlin.
Okay, hello again, Radio On Historic, with stories of the place where we actually are. I'm here with Jason Oney, the other expert on German history, Adrian recording it all, and me, Rinus Van Alebeek. And we are here now on the Rosa Luxemburg Platz, which is the fourth or the third name in history that they gave it. But anyway, I will start why this place came into being. We are very close to the Alexanderplatz, and I think we can, the big disco ball and the television tower are right inside. We have to lift our head like 27%, 27 grades. Mm-hmm. That's what the architects wanted.
Why 27%?
That is the natural position of your head when you look at somewhere without you getting tired in the neck and stuff.
Okay.
So that's what they found very important when they placed it there. But back in history, when there was another wall around the center of Berlin, a wall that prevented the soldiers from escaping, because one of every 7 inhabitants of Germany was Berlin was in the army, and
in the Prussian army.
In the Prussian army, and they run away, so they built a wall around it. And at that time, you had on the Alexanderplatz a big market of cows and
livestock market.
And of course, you needed a lot of hay and things like that. And with hay, you have a very big risk that fire will start it in a city where a lot of houses were also made out of
barn fires.
Yes.
Oslo, Amsterdam, London, Chicago. How many famous cities in history have gone up in huge barn fires? Amsterdam went up in a barn fire, didn't it?
Really?
I believe so, yeah.
So to prevent that, all the barns were put outside the city wall. Mm-hmm. So where we are now, those barns were built. And a little time later, there were also gates in that wall. You had the Prenzlauer Gate.
18 altogether.
And at the other time you had the Rosenthaler Gate. And that were the only gates where the Jews were allowed to get in and to get out. Mm-hmm. And then there was an edict of the king that all the Jews who were homeless would move to this place here.
Friedrich Wilhelm I, in an order, all Jews that did not own a house were forced to vacate the city proper and relocate outside the walls in the Scheunenviertel.
In the Barnes
district.
Quarter. Yeah. So those barns also became houses. And then you got a layout that was very, very dense, and that's what most of the old cities distinguish, that they've got this old parts where people can walk and say, oh, how picturesque, oh, how authentic. But at that time it was just a big mess, because there was no sewer system, and if you had to go and take a leak or whatever, it was in the courtyard, and in the courtyard there were also livestock, there were horses, there was all the, how you call it, when you clean the barn, you put it on a big pile.
Misthaufen in German.
Yeah.
Manure pile? I don't know, what do you call it? Misthaufen heißt das auf Deutsch.
So that was the situation here, with people throwing also their shit in the streets.
Human waste.
Yeah, and the job to clean those toilets in the courtyards was a women's job. It was strictly by women who put up these barrels and put it on the cart and drove it away. So that was the situation here for a very long time, and that's how this place got the name Scheunenviertel, the barn quarter, where a lot of Jewish people lived. But if you go to the west, you have already brick houses, and the more you go to the west, the more elaborated those houses are. Mm-hmm. So if the houses are more elaborated, the standard of living rises. But very close here, and it's that street which, so here you have to imagine very narrow streets, all gasse, because that's the name of a street that's more narrow than a street, alley, even more narrow. They were all here, all disappeared. Behind there, there's a little part that still follows the old pattern, but all of it came more or less here. So where we stand now in front of the Volksbühne, where there's a triangular square, it could be divided with, a little street, a block of houses, a little street, a block of houses, and a little street. That's where we are now. But if you go to the west, where all these houses are now, and you had the Grenadierstraße. And the Grenadierstraße became very, very, very famous in Jewish history and also in Jewish life. I'm talking a lot now, but
Feel free, carry on, please.
that one, to go there, I have to go here first, because in the palace where all the Berlin politics were made, they thought this is unbearable. We can't do this. This is a city, a part of the city that it's disgraceful. It smells. You've got low life here, and it's no good. So what they decided, and for this we have to go to the Volksbühne.
Okay. You were referring to this Gasse over here?
You see, this.
It's the Neue Schönhauser now, isn't it? Isn't
No,
that its
no,
name?
you're too far away.
Okay.
So this house on the corner, it ends more or less in a triangle.
Right.
So where it continues over there, you see the white over there?
I do.
And there you can immediately go into that
There
street.
used to be this beautiful arts bookshop back here. I thought that was the Neue Schönhauser Straße, but that used to be the Grenadierstraße?
It's one further.
Okay, but that used to be the Grenadierstraße
Yeah,
right there?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay, okay, cool. All right, Crobert. Summer rain, summer rain. Summer rain.
So, funny thing is, we are here in front of the Volksbühne, and we are looking into a street. Those white flats at the end of it, those are the flats at the end, at the side of the Alexanderplatz. The little tower that you see is the Marienkirche.
Exactly.
So they decided to make a breakthrough, because the Lustgarten in front of the palace, which was then in front of the palace, was a closed area. So they broke through, and they made a big street, and it ended up here.
Okay.
So from here you could see the palace.
Right.
That's a funny thing. So you have this triangular square, and it's really a part of how you plan to make a city, with this beautiful, very early modernist buildings to the left and the right, which make two sides of this triangle.
Okay, can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
So, the old thoroughfare that you just mentioned used to end right here at the Volksbühne, or what is now the Volksbühne, and basically led all the way to the very front of the palace, where that grotto used to be, and later that statue of Kaiser Wilhelm I used to stand. The front entry to the palace, where now they're erecting that monument to the EU.
No, we are talking about the part between the extension of Unter der Linde.
Okay. Okay. All right. I got it.
Yeah.
I see it now.
So that this should have been the extension of Unter der Linde.
Wow. Okay.
So, which meant that those people didn't live here anymore. So
they were all relocated.
They were relocated, and that's when we got to mention the Grenadierstraße.
Okay.
Because there the population was quite dense. 10 people in one apartment. The whole Grenadierstraße full with people who came in from the old Galicia, who were running away from the pogroms and things like that. And there it was completely full. Also, you had the anti-Semitism growing in the early 20s, and with the massive inflation, they invented. They got money there from the social whatever office, and when the people went there in the afternoon, all the money was finished. And then they said they blamed the Jews, and that led to a very first pogrom over there, where everything was thrown on the street.
What year?
This is 1925.
Okay.
So that's when we can locate here, where we have the whole thing starting up between the communists and the socialists.
Got it. Okay, so basically, now, during the First World War, what was going on in this neighborhood? Still very much a big Jewish neighborhood?
Yeah, but also construction of this here. So this is a 1913 plan.
Okay, now what is now what they call the Karl Liebknecht House?
Yeah.
That was built in 1910.
Yeah.
That was originally a factory.
Before that it was office building, but very soon became factory as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
and in 1926, it was bought by the KPD, the KPD, the German Communist Party,
Yeah.
who then promptly moved in. And it was named after Karl Liebknecht,
Yeah.
who, the Spartacist leader, who was killed in November of 1918.
And there's a little story to this because to honor Karl Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg in in February they have this march to the Socialistenfriedhof.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the reasons that they bought this one, because those marches sometimes were hindered or prohibited because they came from the other side of the Reichstag.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to go past the Reichstag or past the palace, and neither places the other lot didn't like very much that they would go there.
Right.
So if they would start here, then it was one direct line to the Friedhof,
Got it. Okay.
to the cemetery.
Mm-hmm. Incidentally, now the Karl Liebknecht House is occupied by is the party offices for the Linke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I did not know that. Anyway, I also know too that after January of '33, then the SA moved into that.
Yeah.
And it doubled as a police headquarters as well as the SA headquarters. There were these famous images of them marching in with the banner, like 3 abreast. It's actually really cheesy looking. Can we walk over there a little bit?
Yeah, but there's a little introduction to that story, and I'm so happy that I came across this information because it puts a light on the German politics that were going on at that time, and it's very schizophrenic because you have the communists, the Comintern, the Communist International Movement. Most of the communists, the highest quantity of communists, were in Berlin, not in Moscow.
Mm-hmm.
But they got the directions of Moscow how to behave here in Berlin. So that is the communists. But at the same time, the military of Germany was practicing in Russia, and they were collaborating.
It's in the 20s.
They were collaborating with the Russian military,
Mm-hmm.
and they were also building up their forces and their
Testing equipment,
etc.
prototypes.
So you've got basically two enemies working together with Russia. And then in Berlin, the head of the police was someone from the socialists.
Mm-hmm.
And the gatherings together, because of a lot of unrest in the city, the big gatherings, they were forbidden.
Mm-hmm.
But this is in 1931, I think,
Mm-hmm.
that the KPD wanted to organize the 1st of May celebration.
Right.
And that led to the Bloedmai, because the police came with great force, also on Hermannplatz, on several other places in the city. They shut down the demonstration,
Mm-hmm.
which of course led to a very big antagony, and communists and socialists became enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And then the communists, they worked together with the Nazis because they wanted to topple the government of Prussia.
Mm-hmm.
And Prussia was one of the strongholds of Weimar because it was led by a social democrat, and he could keep all of this together. And then they organized what you call the Volksentscheid referendum,
Mm-hmm.
also to get that man down. Another manifestation here
Mm-hmm.
in front of Babylon.
Ah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Also forbidden,
Okay.
also with police. And then two policemen were killed.
Right. And I wanted to point out
Wait a minute. You know who killed those policemen?
the later SED I forget his name right now.
Yeah.
Veda?
Erich Milke.
Milke,
Yeah.
right. Okay. And the original statues that were dedicated in memory of those two policemen were killed were melted down during the Second World War as part of the Nazis donating metal for the war effort program.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then they were recreated after the war, and Milke had them taken down.
Oh,
He was one of the murderers.
Yeah.
He was one of the murderers. I think, I'm not totally sure, Rinus, but can you see that brown concrete bit over there in the bushes? It looks like two pedestals.
Yeah.
I think that's where they were.
Oh, God.
I think that's where they were. Yeah.
That's a fun thing. We're looking at a kind of park bench with very high arm rests, leans.
It looks like a bench between two sort of chest-high brown stone pillars.
Yeah.
And my feeling is that that's where those two statues used to stand.
I can totally imagine that.
Should we walk over there? Let's go
Yeah,
walk
yeah,
over there.
yeah.
Yeah.
But of course then we are very close to 1933 with this SPD president of Prussia gone. Also Prussia became a National Socialist stronghold. Yeah?
Right.
Which made Göring the Minister of Interior Affairs and the head of police.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when the Gestapo was installed.
Göring created the Gestapo.
Yeah, that was already in January 1933.
Right.
One of the first things that he did. And when was Horst Wessel?
Okay, so Horst Wessel was an SA Sturmbahn leader, the Fünfte Sturm, which was known as a particularly aggressive and tough one. And he was murdered in 1930. And the Nazis quickly made a martyr out of him. They needed one, okay? And coincidentally, over there, I believe it's the Nikolai cemetery right over there, is where Horst Wessel is buried.
Okay.
It's right there, okay?
Uh-huh.
He was murdered in 1930. Hitler did not attend the funeral. Göring was there, Goebbels was there. It was either Göring or Goebbels told Hitler to not attend the funeral because it would be too dangerous. He'd be deep, deep, deep in a communist part of Berlin, and the chances were too great that something might happen to him. So he did not attend. But anyway, Wessels is still there at the far corner of the cemetery over there. It is also for that reason in 1933 that the Nazis moved into what is now the Soho House, but back in the day was a buy on credit department store. That was the original intention. I'm not sure how far they really got. Okay, the building was commissioned in 1928 by two Jewish business partners, the Jonas watch and I believe clock manufacturers, who decided that they wanted to open up a department store.
By the
and
way,
to entice customers, you could come and buy on credit.
Aha.
Okay, but in 1933 the Nazis moved in. You hear they wanted to be really close to the communists in order to keep an eye on them. Now, just one more thing before we move on. One thing that I find interesting is that in 1933, when the Nazis moved in here, by the way, there's that doorway I was just talking about with that cheesy image of the SA with this big, huge banner, like, you know, entering the place. It's also these big trees right here, these rabinas, etc. These were all planted by the SA in 1933 and 1934. And I was reading up on this. Part of the Nazi rural socialism program had a lot to do with going into areas, or one aspect, one point of Nazi rural socialism had everything to do with going into areas and planting, bear with me, to kind of like clean up the psychic hygiene, so to speak, to Germanize areas, or to basically clean them up of any kind of foul energy that might have been around. So I don't know for sure, but I'm wondering if that's the reason why the SA planted these trees here, to sort of clean up the energy around here.
They were very esoteric.
Yeah.
Very much. It's now a very nice
and similarly now it's a playground.
Yeah.
So the kids are cleaning up all that energy now. Yeah. But it's hard to believe these things actually survived the war, let alone survived that immediate post-war winter, because there was no coal. You know, it's precisely for that reason that the Hasenheide and that the Tiergarten were all completely chopped down. Because people needed wood to heat. Yeah. People needed wood to heat. So I'm really surprised that these trees made it. Anyway.
Well, if they're sacred, of course you guard them as well, because they're opposite your one of your important houses.
Right.
I'm just looking now at the street sign, which says Rosa Luxemburg Platz. Of course, also one of the big figures in the history of the Communist Party. But you see how the Nazi Party worked and how they thought, because the communist headquarters became a Nazi building, and it became the Horst Wessel House, and the whole square here was also named after him, the Horst Wessel Square, which was like practically a nobody who was turned into a martyr. Yeah.
The building itself was badly destroyed or badly damaged during the course of the Second World War, and I think it was only later in 1950 that it was actually refurbished. And then, was it the Karl Liebknecht House back then as well too, in 1950, directly after the war, or what was it called?
It became almost immediately the Karl Liebknecht.
All right, because this is now Karl Liebknecht Platz, right? Or Rosa Luxemburg Platz, excuse me.
Yeah.
We should probably also mention something about Rosa Luxemburg, who beside Karl Liebknecht was also the Spartacist leader. Those two together were the people who basically founded and ran the German Communist Party, I think during the course of the First World War and directly after the First World War. Needless to say, they didn't live very long.
Apparently, after the Reichstagsbrand, when a lot of communists got arrested, this turned into a little
torture prison.
Yeah.
Well, torture prison, right?
Concentration
chamber.
Camp and
concentration. Was it a Wilde Lager?
Yeah.
It was a
one
Wilde
of them.
One of them. Yeah. Right.
Like also the Columbia House and no, that Columbia Halle? No, that was built by
Wasserturmplatz here.
Yeah.
Wasserturmplatz was right over there, right near Kollwitzplatz. All of those buildings directly adjacent to Tempelhof Airport, which are now the police constabulary. Those were Wilde Lager as well too. It's also where lots of the Night of the Long Night murders went down in Berlin. Yeah, in those basements.
So many places to go.
Okay.
So to recap, my name is Rinus Van Alebeek. I'm here with Jason Honea and
Hi, I'm Jason
and
Honea,
Adrian,
aka Boy True. I am the shitty listener.
Adrian Shepard doing the recordings and the editing when all this is arriving in your ears. We are here on the Rosa Luxemburg Platz, telling a little bit the story of this area, and what we tell, it's not that you can see a lot, but Berlin is so interesting because a lot of the history is buried between or under the pavement. But some things are still to be seen, and Jason, I think we are going to the next destination.
Okay. Whoa! Do it with that. Hello, this is Radio on Berlin. So, we're here at the corner of Prenzlauer Allee, Torstrasse, and we are standing right in front of the Soho House, okay?
Which is an architectural gem as well.
I think I mentioned the Soho House was commissioned in 1928, initially meant to become a department store. Two Jewish business partners from the Jonas watch and I believe clock manufacturing company had the grand idea of opening a department store where people could buy things on credit. In 1933, after the Nazi Machtergreifung, when the Nazis seized power, the Hitler Youth moved in here and were in here until the very end. Coincidentally, they were directly across the street from the cemetery over here across the way. And as we mentioned earlier, this is where Horst Wessel is buried, the SA martyr who was murdered in 1930. And yeah, and I mentioned this earlier as well too. One of the reasons why the Nazis wanted to be here was to be able to keep an eye on the communists over there in what is now the Karl Liebknecht House. I can't remember whose offices were in here. It was either Arthur Axmann, who was a Hitler Youth leader, must have been in here up until 1945. And I'm sure at the very beginning, Baldur von Schirach, the Reichsjugendführer, he must have had his offices in here as well too. You should have seen what this damn thing looked like during the war. There was this big, huge swastika in this oak leaf wreath just hanging directly above the door. Yeah. Anyway, after the war, the SED, this was the party center. They moved in here. And I believe, here they are over here. These two plaques on the wall reference that. Yeah, Otto Waterwall and Wilhelm Pieck, der Vorsitzende der SED, President of DDP, worked here, and Otto Waterwall as well too, though I don't remember exactly what his office was.
Oh.
And if I'm not mistaken, this was the SED headquarters until the Wende, until November of 1989. Yeah?
Pieck was in the palace in the park over there, Schönhauser Park.
Okay. Yeah. And anyway, there's that cemetery over there. Just so you know, the vessel's stone, or what was left of it, was removed about, I think, almost 20 years ago. At the very end of the war, the Nazis came and removed most of it because they didn't want the Soviets desecrating it. And then after the wall came down, after the Wende, as it's called in German, the place became a shrine for neo-Nazis. There were constantly different groups of neo-Nazis coming in here, putting down wreaths, bringing in flowers, doing things like that, until finally the neighborhood, as well as the church, basically just got rid of anything that led anyone to realize that was Horst Wessel's grave. Apparently at some point, I don't know exactly when this was, some jokers dug up Wessel's skull.
Oh no!
Yeah, yeah.
So they left the body there, but they took away the grave.
They took.
The
No, they're still there. The graves are still there. He's buried with his father, who was happened to be a Lutheran minister, by the way. Okay. Now the big question arose: did they actually get Wessel's skull, or did they get his dad's skull? We can end it on that. Yeah, crazy, huh?
Do you know anything about Reinhard Heydrich's grave?
Well, I think just what we all know, basically, is that, when was it, 2 or 3 years ago? It was summertime, actually, I believe. Somebody dug down there. The German police say that the body, or was that the mummy was completely intact. All of the decorations were still there. This is what the police say. But some people ask if that sword was still there. And you know the deal about the sword, right?
Oh.
Is that apparently right before he went into the ground, Himmler swapped out his personal sword with Heydrich's sword. So apparently all the decorations were there, but nothing was mentioned about the sword. Maybe those guys were after that sword.
But why do they leave it over there? Any idea?
I have no idea in the world why.
That's so
The Nazis
strange.
completely removed, again, at the end of the war, the Nazis completely removed his headstone. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was this really tacky, it was this bust of his head with this sort of wall behind it.
Okay.
It was pretty ornate, but the Nazis got rid of all semblance of it. All that's there now is a concrete bar, so to speak, if you can call it that, like a stub. And then for a long time, you could see where the earth had been disturbed over it, where they had filled it back in. That must have been a pain in the ass. He was buried in a gunmetal coffin that was like massively heavy. If you think about how in the world did he even lift the lid off that thing, you know? There's so many questions, it begs so many questions that I think they kind of want to keep it under wraps. They don't want to talk too much about it. They don't want to make ripples. They don't want to attract attention.
That's what I think now.
Should we go over here? Let's go over here, guys. I love this cemetery, by the way.
That you would get a lot of polemics and a lot of articles, etc., etc., etc. But during the Soviet time, they also left it over there. They didn't bother. It was close to the wall. Nobody could get there.
I think it's somebody there.
Anyway, to the listener who's got lost over here, also because of the traffic noise, the thing that we are talking about is we are in topic, Nazis and former Nazis, etc. But Reinhard Heydrich, the second man of the Gestapo, the so-called architect of the Holocaust, is buried in
the Invalidenfriedhof
in Berlin, in the Invalidenfriedhof.
Sort of over by the Hauptbahnhof.
Yeah, and the grave is still there. He's one of the few heads of the Nazis who has a grave, and actually that people know where his grave is. All the rest was burnt to ashes and thrown in a river or in the Mediterranean.
Here.
Soon it will be very silent because we're entering the
Nikolai Friedhof, right?
Kultur.
The Nikolai Friedhof, right?
Yeah.
St. Marien and St. Nikolai.
Friedhof Alter St. Marien, St. Nikolai.
Oh.
Soon we will hear only the whispers of dead people.
So what I wanted to mention was that his
Beautiful.
stone was basically a big huge wreath with a flag draped across it.
This is back to Horst Wessel again.
Yeah, this was in the 30s. And then it was on a pedestal. The Nazis completely got rid of that at the very end of the war, so that only this elevated pedestal was left. Maybe something like this, and that's all that was there. But that's how people marked it, or that's how people knew where it was. This is beautiful how it's overgrown over here like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That squirrel is a wanted squirrel. Wanted! Dead or alive. Look at this, you guys. 1918.
No way!
What?
This is it?
No, this is not it. This is by no means it.
I mean, because...
Yeah. I see what you're saying there. No, that is by no means it. Look at that guy. Woohoo! Shadang. I love eagles. Wow. With that sky color, that's amazing, huh? Looks like a Charles Birchfield painting. That American painter whose stuff I always post on my FB, those nature scenes. He paints starlight and insect sounds. He incorporates that, all of this into his landscapes. You guys come up here, I'll show you where it is.
Oh, we're still walking on the cemetery very close to the Torstrasse.
Yeah.
And we're heading for the place where once was Horst Wessel's grave, with or without a skull. You can see that Jason is doing walking tours. He's got a very high pace walking up this small path.
The only reason I know where it is because I've come here a couple times on different World War II tours. You guys come here please.
Oh.
Kind of wet back here, but it's all right.
Oh God, it's here? Oh, come on.
It's right here.
You sure?
I'm absolutely sure.
Tell me when you've got a 100%, so
It's right
because I
here.
don't want to walk through this wetlands.
It's right here.
Okay. Oh boy, eh. So
Just step high.
Yeah, okay. But I've got transparent shoes and they're made out of fabric.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
I know you don't have forests in Holland.
So now we are really in Amazon territory, and like Indiana Jones, cutting our way through the grave of Horst Wessel.
Right here.
Right here.
And you can see someone's come and left a devotional light.
Oh wow.
It's right here. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Now the first time I was here with a group, some Spanish fascist group had come here, and there were 3 or 4 wreaths here with
no way, Jose.
With that Spanish fascist symbol, which kind of, it's like a variation of the Italian fascis, you know, the
Yeah.
axe with the wrapped in the law bars, the law logs or whatever those are, but the Spanish one is different. It's got some like bolts or something. Anyway, and that stuff was just all over the place right here.
Jason, can you describe a little bit this what it looks like, because my knowledge of English vegetation is not too.
Yeah, well, I would say where we are right now is basically in a thicket. We've got primarily big, large pine trees all around us, and then we've got a bunch of brush. We have some wildflowers and what look like ivy completely covering. There's some ferns over there. There's some ferns right over here. And this little patch basically denotes where Wessels is buried. We are next to an old plot. I love this rusted out metal, this rusted out partition basically protecting this plot, the family something or other. I can't read the name from here. It's moist in here because it rained and the sun is shining through and it smells great.
And
here at Horst Wessel's grave.
if you don't know it, you would never.
Right, they don't want you
found
to
it.
know it.
Is this earth or?
I can't tell.
Because nothing is growing here.
Right. What's this?
You think the fascist
concrete?
groups say they is it concrete on it?
It looks like it's just sand. It's just packed sand.
Or they keep it clean. They clean it every time they come here.
No idea. I have no idea. But it's just common knowledge. This is it. Yeah. And why would there be all that crap, that shit here that I just mentioned? You know. But anyway, and as I said, I'm repeating myself, but I think it was in 2000 or 2002 that the church, together with the neighborhood, really wanted what was left, any indication, any sign whatsoever that this is where he was buried, removed. Okay. Nevertheless, people know where it is and they find it, and they wanted that done because they were tired of all of the processions, all of the ceremonies going on in here. Like I said, people coming, what I just described, all that Spanish fascist shit.
Also a special date, or?
Well, I don't.
We're in Berlin, let's go. So.
I remember his birthday was March 1st. Mine's March 3rd. That's why I remembered that. But anyway, let's go this way, you guys. This is beautiful back over here too. Yeah, it's a neat spot. It's an absolute neat spot. As I think you've probably garnered, one of my big hobbies too is also visiting cemeteries here in Berlin. There's so many.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really dug about COVID, at least at the beginning, if I can say that, was that I didn't have to go to work. And we just had tons and tons of time off. Just went on these excursions in which we'd visit churches, churchyards. I mean, we just had all the time in the world. I didn't have a Monatskarte. The S-Bahn and U-Bahns were not being patrolled. So we just travel all day, like you can't even imagine. Cross town, around town.
Those were the days.
Those were the days. So in terms of Berlin's defense, this was Sector H. Can't remember who was commanding it. And it was the Soviet 55th Guards Division that came rolling through here, I believe. As you can see here in a second, some of these stones are severely damaged. Look at that right there. Those are all bullet impact marks. Look at this right here, here.
So somebody hit himself in the Thomas Hildebrand family.
Hey, you got a guest.
Tomb.
He was just staring you down. He was literally like 3 feet away from you. Squirrely.
Yeah, don't give him almonds.
3 coins in a wigwam.
The St. Marien Nikolai
Cemetery, Friedhof.
Parish.
Mm-hmm. Place of peace.
Which
My dad used to call it the yard of equalization.
Which is, if you are into cemeteries, I can completely recommend to come and visit this one. Only because of the way that nature is overgrowing all the graves. It looks not run down, but it looks like, in my opinion, what a graveyard should look like.
Time tames all.
Yeah, that time that you can see time. You know that death is not something that you need to polish every time. Jason, you want to add something to this? Otherwise, we
no,
finish
I'm actually
here
done.
and we put our listeners to rest.
Should we just sign off?
In this place.
Hey everybody, I'm Jason Honea, aka Boy True. I am the Shitty Listener. Thank you very much for listening.
Yes, my name is Rinus Van Alebeek. We have been doing one of the episodes in our Radio on Historic series, which started on the Rosa Luxemburg Platz, and after a little walk we ended up here in the cemetery, and everything is connected. We thank you for listening. Bye bye.
You've been listening to Radio on Berlin with Jason Honea and Rinus Van Alebeek, with a continuing series of history in Berlin And any more information, of course, go to our website, www.radioonberlin.com. This is also going out as a podcast on all the major podcast platforms. So sign up with us and support us. Thank you very much. Have a very good day.
Yeah!